Welcome to the FangledCast, brought to you by Fangled Technologies, where we help you convert every person your company touches into a voracious advocate for your brand. Everyone, welcome back to the FangledCast. Today, I've got Geoffrey Stern with me, and I'll let him introduce himself here in a little bit. But, we talk so much on this show about strategy and how you really build that core strategy of your business before you start to go out and look at the shiny objects, the tactical tools that we use to implement those strategies. And the reason I've got Geoffrey on the show is he's from a company, which we'll talk about, that really has the shiny object that people get excited about in various applications. So before that little teaser sort of makes you wonder what we're talking about, Geoffrey, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and about your company.
Andrew, it's a pleasure to be here. I am the CEO and founder of a company called Voice Express, and we're about 20 years old. And if you've ever been into a Build-A-Bear store and you've heard one of their plush animated with a voice, licensed music, we're the guy. We've made those sounds. We've given them the technology that enables their guests to create those sounds to the tune of probably about 50 million transactions.
Wow.
So we're a little bit in the business of giving consumers and brands a voice.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those areas, typically on the podcast, you always want to get the web designer and the guy who does the social media and all those things that we need. But your product goes into an area that we talk about a lot with our clients, which is how do you go heads above everyone else? How do you create delight, memory, impactfulness so that people remember the brand? I'm not talking so much about a toy that people sell and then the toy is, what's in there, but what's behind it. So I kind of want to go through the evolution of how you went from children being delighted by bears that sound like family, that sound like friends, that play music and all those things, to getting into the marketing space where your technology now does other things. Can you kind of give us a little bit of history of how that works?
I think the simple answer was I was drawn and pulled there. The phone started ringing, and one day I got a call from an engineer at Intel, and he said, "You know those Hallmark cards that play music? Well, we have a package for a new PC we're coming out with, and when we open the package, we wanted to play that iconic Intel bong." In a sense, what he wanted to do was to set the stage, the context, and trigger certain emotions when you opened up the package, what we now call unpackaging. Or when I got a call from a salesperson who worked at a publication called Advanced Star that marketed to the pharmaceutical industry. And he said, look, our reps, they can't get to doctors anymore. They're just too damn busy. They can't do what they called a mini detail. So we need a way, because we can't get their email address, we can't get their text, to be able to engage them. Could you make us a card that would have 3 buttons, that would have information in audio about dosage, side effects, clinical studies? And again, what we saw was, or what they saw, I should say, is because the pharma industry is great at tracking engagements and efficacy, is they saw that, lo and behold, the doctors started writing more script. They felt more comfortable with the medication. So you ask how I moved from the consumer space, where we let consumers express their emotions, deliver their message, create an impactful, meaningful relationship, to brands. For a large part, the initial draw was from the market itself, from agencies, from people in the packaging, advertising, and printing industries.
It's so interesting. It's my company, we've been in that B2B industrial space for years and years. And people ask me, why are you guys doing consumer brands? I say, because we were dragged into it. The accomplishments and things that people saw and what we did applied to those consumer brands. And it's a very similar story, and people don't really get many times the power of sound as part of your branding story. If you think about, you pick up the phone, I had a CEO who I worked with. He loved the ring when you called Delta Airlines and you picked up the phone. They have a certain music that plays. He knows he's on with Delta. When you hear, there's so many places where sound brings us attachment. You hear the expression, it's the the soundtrack of my life. where certain sounds. It's just so clever what Intel did with your product. What are some of the other examples that, because I know you went from the Bear. What was sort of the next step product that you brought to market?
Well, like I said, there was direct mail because
Mhm.
obviously from pharma, we realized that there were other industries
Mhm.
where the brand wanted to deliver content in a unique way. And one of the most interesting questions that I get asked all the time is, well, what do you need to deliver, a message like that in a card? I have my iPhone. My
Sure.
iPhone can play it. And so the next layer of what I learned from my customers was that what you want to do is you want to drag your prospect away from all the clutter. We're all looking at the iPhone and the texts are coming in and the emails are coming in and they're, multi-application devices.
Mhm.
And what you want to do is create a singular experience. You want to get out of broadcasting and you want to get into narrowcasting.
Yep.
And so I'd like to think that the lessons that I've learned with my little technology of audio and sound and voice can be extrapolated to other triggers, other messages, and other formats. The idea is we do have five senses, and we should be all thinking about using them all. So sonic branding is one. Clearly, that friend of yours who loved the Delta Sonic logo was commenting on there's more than experience of a brand to just doing what they offer and consuming it. There were these ancillary things that come into play. So I think that's the bigger lesson. But in terms of our path, we learned that, and we learned it from the market.
Yeah. So based on your five senses thing, we need to be developing the smellophone.
Well, I think we all know that, when you walk into a hotel and there's a particular scent,
Absolutely.
it's a welcome home type of thing.
Yep.
And the same thing goes. We probably are not aware of how many scents there are, whether it's the new car scent or whatever that is involved in packaging and
Yep.
in all of these things. It's important.
Yeah.
And it probably doesn't matter whether you're in the consumer space or you're DuPont and you're making Tyvek coating for a house.
Mhm.
It's the sound that it makes in your hand. It's all of these things are important.
Absolutely. It's for people who don't get it. I mean, think about the number one thing a realtor will tell you to do on the open house: burn a little vanilla in the oven so it smells like cookies.
Hmm.
People feel at home. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely on track. And those are things that sort of get bypassed a lot of times in terms of that branding statement. Or really, how do you excite the five senses and work towards that path of advocacy for your brand? It's fascinating to me how it works. I recently, someone showed me a type of a card that it's a proximity technology that when somebody has their cell phone, you touch their phone and it throws your contact on their phone. Or you could put it in a car. So you're in the car showroom and you have a question about the stereo, you can tap your phone to it and it turns your phone into a reader. And the thing that concerns me about that is the same reason why I will never click a QR code. I don't know what else it's doing to my phone. Your product is so secure because it's self-contained and it does its own thing. So it's kind of an interesting, I think the more sophisticated people try to get with it in this cybersecurity world, I think there's something extra special about, you open the box, you hear the sound. There's no risk. It's just a light.
I think that the lesson there is, while I can mention that you need to touch the five senses, you don't necessarily have to do them at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you
Yep. Yeah.
compare Zoom to Clubhouse, for instance,
Hmm.
and who knows how Clubhouse is going to play out,
Yeah.
but certainly one of the first reactions you get to Clubhouse is it's just voice. It's
Yes.
not voice and video.
Hmm.
And so I don't have to worry about what I look like. I
Hmm.
can be jogging. I can be doing all sorts of things. So I think the message is you got to be aware of the senses, but not necessarily use them indiscriminately. And then
Absolutely.
getting back to your point about unconnected devices, we hear a lot about the IoT, the Internet of Things. I'd like to think that my space is the VOT, the voice of things.
Hmm.
And it's cute and it makes sense. But the point is very similar to what you just said. We just launched a card. It can be used both for direct mail and in store that literally has a smart speaker baked into it. But it's not a connected smart speaker, because clearly you would never get anywhere if you sent a prospect a card and they had to pair it with
Mhm.
Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. So it opens up and it basically delivers the frequently asked questions of your brand by saying, are you interested in warranty service if you got a new car? You're interested in understanding how to pair your garage door opener. So
Mhm.
you welcome it because it's talking directly to you, but it's not connected. And I think that there is a whole space of voice-enabled devices and interactive devices that their advantage is that they're actually not connected. That enables you to interact, but do it in a secure and controlled manner.
So it's a voice response system. It actually asks you questions. It'll understand what you're saying and then respond to it.
Yeah, in context. So unlike maybe a smart speaker, true smart speaker, that you can have something comparable to an open conversation, this will say, you just got your new car. Are you interested in adventures that Range Rover sponsors? Are you interested in our green initiative? Say green initiative, say adventure. So it gives you the prompts to say, and then it can distinguish between, 5 or 10 prompts at a time. But for the purposes of a focused conversation, it works surprisingly well.
It's really interesting. So somebody who's buying I don't know, a high-end product that you have to learn how to use it. Say they go and they buy one of those super automatic espresso cappuccino machines. They could open their box and get a sound that delights them because they just got this thing home. And then it could tell them, do you want to know how to clean the machine once a month? It could, all of those types of things could be part of it, rather than what usually happens now, where customer experience is so key. I know someone who bought one of those machines and opened it up, looked for the manual, and it had a QR code. You had to click the QR code to download a manual. And again, you talk about the inconvenience. If you want to keep the manual, you've just downloaded it to your phone, and now you've got to transfer it from your phone to your computer or send it from phone to printer. They actually make you work for them. So this is it's an interesting play to give you the convenience without having to do extra work. But
Well,
instead a product you just spend a good bit of your pay on.
it's also that, but you're losing an opportunity to delight. And
Yes.
this gets back to the toy and the shiny things, because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, aren't we all little children who just want to be delighted and put in a state of wonder from time to time?
I know I
And
am.
think of that cappuccino machine. It has so many features that studies have shown, if you don't discover those features within the first few weeks of use, you probably never will. They'll be just like the microwave that has 15 buttons and you know how to use two. So the opportunity of really delighting at the moment of engagement, of unpackaging, is a real opportunity, and it goes beyond voice. Obviously, all of these lessons can be extrapolated because, think of how we speak. We speak about an author who has a voice. We speak about a voice in the terms of a platform. So it's not only literally voice and audio, but it's what that represents in terms of a full-blown marketing strategy.
Yeah, one of the areas that I've worked with when I was doing consumer products in the retail space were the shelf talkers. So if you had a product that people wouldn't necessarily understand right off the bat, I should say. Um, sometimes you go to like the wholesale stores and they've got the TV with the DVD playing and things to teach you. But with the shelf talkers, almost anywhere that you went, you could touch a button, and it would either dispense a coupon and tell you the story. It would give you the benefit, the value prop of what's on the shelf. So many different ways that this sort of tech can work. I'm wondering if you've played in that space at all.
Well, absolutely. And obviously retailing is evolving in front of our eyes, but certainly touch screens are not what they used to be in an environment where we don't want to be touching things that
Yep.
other people have touched. And so the more organic, intuitive, and primal forms of communication, and really voice is as much a user interface as it is an app or anything like that. You have to think of it as a mouse or as a track notepad. So clearly in store is a space that we're looking at. Again, the idea is there's nothing wrong with showing a QR code, but it has to be part of what is considered conversational commerce. And
Mhm.
that is that you have to engage in a conversation, you have to engage, and then at the right time, it might say, click on the QR code in response to you're interested in this, that, or the
Mhm.
other. But truly, we are looking at forms of engagement that are touchless. We want to get, the old thing about a store was you can never find someone to help you. Now, you don't necessarily want someone to help you physically, literally there, but maybe that QR code or an SMS that you send connects you to somebody in the store who can talk to you on the phone. The phone is a personal device. So all of this stuff is evolving as we speak, and I think that there are going to be things that survive the current situation and impact the way we interact going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one of the neat products outside of that sort of delighter commercial space, but I think is definitely a play in the consumer market, is the add-on that you can put in with a gift to personalize and make a gift for someone, or someone that you just haven't had the opportunity to be close with or talk to. I remember once I saw a gift basket that had a box in it, the big, similar to what was in the bears. And if you, when the gift basket arrived, it said touch here, and you touched, and it was the message from, I think all of those things have a great play. And the fact that they're offline, really, to me, is I think more exciting than the idea of having to use my phone to possibly link and get involved in that. I think that's really cool.
Well, one of the really exciting things that has happened to our company over the last 8, 9 months is we've, like everybody else, we've pivoted. We're exploring new opportunities. And one of the things that we did was we put our consumer-oriented products onto Amazon. We were never set up to handle customer support. Did you get the tracking, shipping, and all of that stuff? And so for the first time, we're in touch directly with our consumer, and they make comments, and you
Mhm.
get to see how they're using your product.
Yep.
And talking about that little, we created something we call voice gift as a gift tag to go along with any gift. And part of the reason we did it is we're getting calls from assisted living facilities where there are
Mhm.
people that can't see their close relatives for months at a time, and just to be able to hear a familiar voice is so powerful. And then we extrapolated from our experience at Build-A-Bear, where the first thing you do is you pick the skin. Okay, so you're kind of picking the occasion, the
Sure.
context, and the next thing you do is you go to the Hear Me station. And so we looked at that from the perspective of some transactions, like the gift giving transaction. We always talk in terms of it's the thought that counts. But if the thought is what counts, why is the thought typically left till the end as
Yeah.
an afterthought? Why is it left for a little box at the end of the transaction that says, if this is a gift, you have 3 lines that you can write in?
Mhm.
And how angst-ridden is buying a gift? You're always wondering, am I spending too much or too little? Am I sending the right thing? And what we did, and we did some focus groups, is if we said, if you get the message right, just like you do at Build-A-Bear, where you go to the Hear Me station first, not last, if you can express the sentiments behind the gift, and maybe pick some licensed music, then what does that do to the whole transaction afterwards? And obviously, then already you're starting to imagine the smile on her face when she gets that bouquet of flowers or the box of chocolates. And it's not because of what you've given. What you've given is only a token. It's because of the message.
Yes.
And how do you extrapolate that from a call to a service bureau where you're calling about a missing package or about making an airline reservation? And in the old days, those people at the telephone center were judged by how quickly you could get you off the call. And now they're starting to learn that people want to talk. And my God, marketers spend so much time trying to get people to connect. Here they are trying to get rid of them. So you every so often you contact a company that's getting it right, and the agent will say to you, well, how are you today, Andrew? And where are you located? And how's the weather? And how are you surviving? And you talk about a brand providing a service, or forget about what the widget is that they sell. But at the end of the day, aren't they there to make your life better, to make you feel better about yourself? So I think that the message that we've kind of taken away in terms of our product can certainly apply to so many other brands and companies out there that are ultimately engaging with consumers all the time.
Yeah, what you're hitting on there is so key to that. And again, in whether you're an industrial player or you're a consumer brand, that customer experience, the every person who's contacting and having contact should be in the mindset that they're the customer service, that they're the face of the brand for the company. Because at the core of our business, we're helping people convert those people that they contact into voracious advocates for the brand of the company. That's why I think your products and the things that you do are such key tools in the process of that. I could imagine the difference between getting a gift from someone I haven't seen for a long time and getting that gift with a heartfelt message that came along with it. It's just such a neat, delightful sort of thing to add on.
But think of the same thing when it comes to renew your lease or on a car.
Yep.
And it comes not simply as a card, but with the voice of your salesperson inviting you to come in and drive the newest model, or seeing how you're doing. It's just so broad. It means, actually it's where the medium becomes the message, meaning to say, it's not so much that you did this, but that you thought it was worthwhile to do it. Sometimes it's adding that little extra embellishment that really just seals the deal and shows how much you care. It
Absolutely.
sounds trite, but it's true.
Absolutely. Hey, we're running down on the old clock here. Is there anything I didn't ask you about the market or your products that I should have that would be interesting for the audience?
I can't think of anything. We really covered a lot. The only thing that I would say is that one thing I've learned from my product, and I think probably everybody else has the same experience, but should be sensitive to, is just listen to your customer. The people that call me with ideas about their products, it just blows my mind how you can learn from your customer, and they have probably the best ideas.
Yeah, it amazes me when companies think that they know more about the products than the people who are actually benefiting by using them. It's always fascinating. So if someone needed to reach out and get in touch with you, what's the best way to find you?
Our website is voice-express.com.
Uh-huh.
You can also find us on LinkedIn. Again, I'm Geoffrey Stern, Geoffrey. Last name is Stern.
Yep.
And I guess you can always contact Andrew and he'll put you in touch with me as well.
But
So I look forward to hearing from you
I'm busy that day.
when he's not busy.
Hey, and all of the information we'll put in the notes for the show when it goes out. So fantastic. Thanks so much. For those of you listening from your hot tub, you're walking on your uh, treadmill or wherever the heck you are while you're listening or watching the podcast, we appreciate you being here and checking out the story. We hope you subscribe. If you just click down below here where I've got the little subscribe button, you'll be able to check out future content. And if you would, tell a friend, fax an old guy who doesn't know what a podcast is, tell him he should be watching or listening too. And we'll see you on the next FangledCast. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Brought to you by Fangled Technologies, where we help you convert every person your company touches into a voracious advocate for your brand.